Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor.
This is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours. But on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. With visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budget, and more, NetSuite is everything you need to grow, all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your books in no time while staying well ahead of your competition. 93% of surveyed businesses increased their visibility and control after upgrading to NetSuite. Over 27,000 businesses already use NetSuite. And right now, through the end of the year, NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program to those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/C-Suite. Head to netsuite.com/C-Suite for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. netsuite.com/C-Suite.
The Daily Compliance News for January 6, 2022, the Deportation edition. And we begin with that story from ESPN, which is that tennis star Novak Djokovic has been denied entry into Australia after having initially received a COVID-19 medical exemption. He is now facing deportation from Australia, which he is fighting. He received the medical exemption from apparently the Tennis Association so that he could come play in the Australian Open and defend his title, but he failed to get the proper visa, and the Australian Border Force issued a statement Thursday that he failed to provide appropriate evidence to meet entry requirements and his visa had been suspended. Djokovic, as I mentioned, is fighting this, which shows his complete, total, and utter disregard for COVID-19 vaccination and the rule of law in Australia. Next up, from Reuters, the Securities and Exchange Commission has launched a preliminary probe into lenders' disclosures about their policies on hot-button issues such as climate change and gun makers. The inquiry is related to 2 Texas laws banning states from working with companies that discriminate against firearm or fossil fuel companies. Amid pressures from investors and employees, banks have become active in ESG issues. So now they have the state of Texas in opposition to the Securities and Exchange Commission. Imagine that. Next up, a first-time contributor to the Daily Compliance News, Automotive News Europe reports that prosecutors in Munich have charged a former senior employee of BMW with corruption and having defrauded the German automaker of millions of euros through the embezzlement of money and taking kickbacks for sending business to certain subcontractors and contractors. So the defendant has denied these claims, but 5 people have been charged, including a managing director of a now insolvent consulting firm who's engaged or alleged to have engaged. The conduct's alleged to have occurred from 2007 to 2015. And finally, from Bloomberg, it reports that climate disasters threaten U.S. grids, risking millions or billions in losses. Obviously, any major storm can damage energy transportation infrastructure, such as wire lines and utilities, but the climate change is putting these at increasing risk from wildfires, from storms, from ice storms, from hurricanes. So there'll be a need for a major infrastructure overhaul. And is your company ready if you lose power? The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.